This review contains spoilers for the new film Space Jam: A New Legacy. We start out with young LeBron at basketball practice and he's playing Game Boy, some Bugs Bunny game that really doesn't have anything to do with the movie except for, I guess that's how they establish that LeBron recognizes Bugs Bunny in the future and that he chooses like basketball over video games or something. And then we flash forward and we get a montage about how awesome LeBron James is at basketball, how he's the king, how LeBron is the best ever. A kid getting a basketball to the face at like 80 miles an hour is played for laughs. And they also establish that he's a real asshole to his son because his son has dreams about being like a computer programmer or a video game designer or something like that. You know, something realistic, but LeBron thinks his son is stupid because his son doesn't want to play basketball. Because that sounds like a fun life, right? Being a basketball player when you're LeBron James' son. Then we meet Al G. Rhythm, who is Don Cheadle in like a silver Canadian tuxedo. And he's literally an algorithm. And he's the bad guy. You know, I guess YouTubers can relate with a bad guy algorithm. And that is probably the most original thought in this whole movie. So we meet Don Cheadle and somehow he has these powers. They never really explain that. But he goes on to praise LeBron some more, calls him a king. It's almost like if Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit directed a movie, and in that movie they're playing Limp Bizkit songs and the actors are praising them. Actually, that did happen. It's called The Fanatic and it's also terrible.
You like a little Limp Bizkit? Sure. You like a little biscuit? Yeah. Yeah? Listen loud. I used to listen to this back in the day. This is hot.
There's also a cameo by Sarah Silverman for some reason. She doesn't do anything funny in it. In fact, Sarah Silverman hasn't made me laugh, I think since like 2001, when she said she had like sex with a Mexican and it gave her diarrhea. None of the technology in this movie makes any sense. Like the kid is somehow scanning a spider with his iPhone, and somehow that's being inputted into his computer where he's creating a game. This movie really does seem like it's designed to make kids stupid. And before you say anything, and you go, look, dude, you're critiquing a movie made for kids. But is this movie made for kids, really? Because I watched it with a 5-year-old. And it took her about 5 minutes before she started zoning out and she just started playing with her Legos. Because it took about 25 minutes before it even gets to the cartoon part. So if this is made for kids, you really managed to bore the hell out of them with 25 minutes of LeBron James trying to act and all the actors trying not to look embarrassed that they're in this movie. But let's see, this movie made for kids had a bunch of LeBron career jokes like what teams he's been on. It had the Droogs and Alex DeLarge from A Clockwork Orange, Ray Charles jokes, Don Cheadle as Steve Jobs, the Batman TV show theme song, like the one from the 60s, Mad Max Fury Road references, Austin Powers, some old black and white movie that I don't even get, and I'm in my 30s, Rick and Morty, references to the 1984 Wonder Woman movie. I'm not sure what kid wants to see that. MC Hammer jokes, Scooby-Doo, Gremlins, Hanna-Barbera. I don't think kids are into that anymore. Pennywise the Clown, The Nun. And The Nun is like in this movie, in the second half, it cuts to her so many times because she's standing behind Don Cheadle. So is Pennywise. You've got the Joker. You got the villains from Batman Returns. Space Ghost. 1930s gangsters. Back to the Future. Super hot fire memes. Dead memes. Jokes about Training Day. Game of Thrones. The Matrix. Rated R from the 90s. You know, good old family entertainment. The Matrix. And on and on. A bunch of stuff that's rated R. A bunch of stuff that kids don't even care about. But this is a kid's movie. When they finally get sucked into like the Matrix or whatever the hell this is, it's not in outer space. I guess it's called Space Jam because they're like in some kind of cyberspace. It really doesn't make any sense. I know. It's a cartoon movie with a guy playing basketball against cartoons. I know. But there has to be some level of logic. Even the original Looney Tunes movies have logic. Like the coyote wants to eat the Roadrunner. It makes sense. But they get to this like DC world. And honestly, it just feels like one of those short movie clips or scenes that they make for an amusement park ride. Like a motion ride. Or what they play on a screen when you're waiting for a ride. That's really what this feels like. So when he's finally a cartoon, it's all in 2D animation for a long time. And that's obviously done to save money because 3D animation is expensive. And even LeBron James is 2D animation. Like, unless I'm remembering wrong, I'm pretty sure Michael Jordan in the original was actually Michael Jordan. And they mixed him in with the animation, kind of like Roger Rabbit. but in reverse, a live action actor or, Michael Jordan in with the cartoons. But this is all 2D animation to save money, of course. And you know how much kids love 2D animation nowadays. Even when they introduce live action LeBron James, he doesn't even play basketball. Most of the time he's just standing in one spot on the court, and he's never really integrated with anything. They show him dribbling, they show him getting a ball stolen when he's just standing around, but he's not really integrated into the animation. So the actual plot is that the son hates his dad because his dad wants him to play basketball and he just wants to design video games. And Don Cheadle is like, yeah, your dad sucks. And the kid's like, oh my God, you're right. So it's one of those things, where the kid is getting manipulated by the bad guy. And big shocker, at the end he realizes that it's his dad that's the good guy. It's so stupid. The designs for the bad guy players are ugly and they make no sense. Unless it has something to do with the real life nicknames or something. But again, is this a movie for kids or for adult male fans of the NBA? If they're playing basketball, why does one of them have wings instead of arms and hands? Doesn't make any sense. I mean, they also had a joke about Coach Bobby Knight throwing a chair on the court. You know how much kids love Coach Bobby Knight. For a kid's movie, this has nothing but references to things that adult sports nerds would know. LeBron's family is totally boring. I felt bad for the actors. At one point, they make it seem like Michael Jordan is coming back to help them win the game. But it's actually just Michael B. Jordan, and he's holding popcorn and eating popcorn. With a good 40 minutes left in the movie, just enough time for, the kids to look at their dad and be like, oh, we want popcorn, or we want more popcorn, go to the lobby and buy some more. They also show a really nice close-up of the shoes LeBron James is wearing. I wonder if they're selling those. Yeah, I guess they are. Then the Looney Tunes started rapping, and I just wanted to die. The Goon Squad starts losing the game, and then Don Cheadle says a bunch of F words that are all bleeped out. And that's when the 5-year-old kind of looked up from her Legos and looked at me like, oh my God, they're saying bad words. And I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. Really weird. Why even include that? So in the middle of the game, when it looks like LeBron is about to slam dunk on his son, he decides to stop and have a heart-to-heart with him finally about how, video games aren't stupid and that basketball isn't everything, I guess. And it only took a Don Cheadle algorithm that has superpowers and created a whole Ready Player One hellscape and kidnap a bunch of people and his son and a bunch of characters from a bunch of movies that don't make any sense. And it just, nothing makes sense. But LeBron finally has a heart-to-heart with his son, and his son immediately goes, oh my God, Dad, you're right. So now he's on the Toon Squad. And here's a sample of LeBron's acting.
Let's run a triangle offense. We're getting crushed. A trapezoid offense?
I know. Look at them. Their spirit is broken, and that's exactly what we want.
Float down there. We'll float down there. Yes, we do.
Then at the very end, LeBron gets fouled, but decides not to flop around like a soccer player. And then his son helps him cheat anyway. And they win the game by a point. Then everybody calls him the king and the best of all time again. The end.
What up? It's Parky Kid and Common King Double LG. Step to me, he don't want no trouble.
Yeah.
This movie is absolute shit. It's best reserved as a torture device like in Clockwork Orange. Maybe that's why they had the Droogs and Alex Large in there. It was being meta. They're like, you know what? This is a torture film. This isn't for enjoyment. This is to torture people with. Nothing made sense. There were no lessons to be learned. It wasn't entertaining. Children won't like this. Adults won't like this. I hated this movie, and I felt like a stupid idiot for watching it.